Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
Good morning, welcome back. We have North Carolina State Auditor Beth Wood on the phone with us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
So glad to have you on the show today, Auditor Wood.
It is great to be here.
Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. We'll get started. A lot to talk about this morning, but first of all, Auditor Wood, can you explain your job? Can you explain what you do exactly to the viewers?
Absolutely. So the state of North Carolina runs on about $46 billion a year. And that money comes in through state income taxes we all pay, sales taxes we all pay, gas taxes, and about $22 billion of that comes from the federal government, which are federal taxes that we pay, and then that comes into North Carolina in the form of grants. So the state auditor's job is to audit how those tax dollars are being spent, and then report back to the governor and the General Assembly and the citizens of North Carolina how those monies were spent. We have to report how they were reported, how they were accounted for, and I think more important to most citizens, were our tax dollars wasted?
Right. Okay. Well, how did this audit come about? How did you get to Rocky Mount?
Well, this actually was not an audit. It was an investigation.
Okay.
So my agency has jurisdiction over state government, universities, community colleges, clerks of court, and any local government that receives and spends federal dollars that pass through the state of North Carolina or state tax dollars. So I have a hotline, and there were allegations made against the city of Rocky Mount leadership that there was, if you will, improper activities going on. Okay.
All right. And I think you had to the tune of 213 calls on your hotline.
We had 213 allegations. Some of those came in calls. Some came with documents being sent in the mail. Some came from documents being delivered. And some came through the hotline, the email also.
Does it matter how many calls you get? Does that raise a red flag to you? Or how does that work? Do you work on,
The statute that covers my responsibilities for investigations on state and local governments, that statute does not designate at all how many calls, dollar amount that you might suspect, any of the above. I am responsible for addressing everything that comes into our agency.
So every call is important to you?
That's exactly right.
Okay. I understand that you send information out of your scope, and I want to explain that to people because people are saying, okay, we had a year or more of time spent. I've heard this so many times since the audit, since this investigation came out. I heard people saying there are $400,000 spent, 4,000 hours, and all we got was 5 findings. So I want to give you an opportunity, and I think I know the answer, but I want you to explain it because there are only certain things in your scope. Is that correct?
Well, when we receive the 213, you have to go through all of them, to see which ones are within our jurisdiction, which ones are duplicative, which ones are really about poor management, poor leadership, and you're stuck with it because it's not against the law. Poor leadership is not against the law. And that's allegations of poor leadership. And you have to then discern or separate those that are really, that could be fraud or abuse. And so that in and of itself, to be able to pull together, all the information you need to make the decision which bucket that one goes into.
Right.
I want to remind the readers, if you read the report closely, what it said was I had 213 allegations. We do have 5 findings, And we have referred some of the other items to other state agencies as well as legal authorities.
Right, and that's what I wanted them to hear you say, because there were actually more than 5. You have referred some to other agencies.
Agencies and let me say legal authorities. I don't have the authority to indict people or arrest people.
Sure.
So when the evidence points in possibly, and let me say that word a third time, possibly legal issues, then I have to refer that to the proper authorities. And that's what we have done. And again, people have no clue. I mean, you can't make a snap decision, well, this one's not true or that was not true. You think about how much work goes into wading through 213 allegations.
Right.
And discerning which one of those are about an investigation, which ones are about, allegations of poor leadership. And so you have to work through all of that, and that is extremely time-consuming if you do your job right. The other issue I would say is that, you might say, well, it was $50,000 in write-offs. It was, about $60,000 or $70,000 in grant monies. It was $1,575 in spending for the city manager. The bottom line to all of it is the tone at the top. The other thing I will say, an investigation is very limited to the allegations. When I do an audit, I do a much more overall picture. And so, we went and investigated what was given to us to be investigated. That's not to say that we found everything that might be going on. And so the fact that the findings pointed to the tone at the top is huge and impactful.
Okay. Can you define any of the agencies, Auditor Wood, that you sent some of this information to?
All I can tell you is that the legal authorities that we would normally send these to would be the SBI, the FBI, or the district attorney's office. And then if it involves somebody getting monies that should have been reported on their tax return, but they did not, we will refer those issues to the IRS and the Department of Revenue. And that's all I can say.
Okay. All right. Very good. I've asked the city to identify the council person in finding number 1 and the downtown managers in finding number 2 to no avail. I have not gotten a response. So can you identify the council person in finding number 1?
I can, and it's not against the law, but the protocol of our audit of our office is not to name names. We are about getting the truth out there and producing irrefutable findings. And all of that information you just asked them about is public information. They are not in compliance with the law and the public records law if they don't tell you who it is. But the council members and the mayor, I have confirmed it with them because they are the group charged with governance. So if you were to ask any one of them, they should be able to tell you.
Okay, thank you. $47,000 in finding number 1, $47,000 in utilities has been written off through 2 administrations. What reason do you think this has been allowed? Why do you think this has been allowed?
I can't say what is in somebody's mind or what's in somebody's head. What is important to recognize is that if you are an elected official and you're serving the constituents in this case, ward, why and how would you ever take a benefit that's not allowed to your constituents? So we show, and we have evidence through notes that were made in this particular council member's account. We went through 234 notes. 125 of them are where they're trying to collect the monies from him, and then conversations that were had. And one of the emails that we saw, one of the notes that was made, is that the finance officer makes a note that the head of the utility department had told them to stop all disconnect procedures.
Wow. Okay.
There is evidence within the utility department's account, within this council member's account, there is a note that the head of the utilities department tells the finance officer, stop all disconnect procedures. So all I can do is report what we found.
Yeah,
it is
sure.
in our audit.
Sure. But what bothers me is, why did the internal auditor not report this?
Your internal auditor, I'm not sure that if the city of Rocky Mount even has one. Your external auditor, I'm not sure why they didn't either. When I was an auditor in Eastern North Carolina, I audited the city of Havelock, the city of New Bern, Craven County, Carteret County, and one of the first things we did as an auditor is we would sit down and we would look at all the write-offs, whether it was utilities or property taxes. We would sit down and look at all the write-offs, and we would look at the leadership in all the divisions within that city or county, and we would look at all the elected officials within that city or county and see if they were getting preferential treatment. I do not know why your external auditor did not find this.
And, I understand that we do not have one right now. We have in the past, but we do not have one right now. How can any government have integrity without an internal auditor?
Well, the key is, I think, a city as big as Rocky Mount certainly needs an internal auditor. And then a lot of people are expecting that your external auditor, which you do have, is going to find all these things, and that's simply not true. Your council members are where the buck stops. The mayor and I have had conversations about the kinds of reporting and the things that they should be looking at. I was surprised that in 2019, the city has had $1 million of utility bill write-offs. $1 million.
Right.
And the
that's
city
what
council
I heard.
and the mayor didn't even know it.
Right.
Who's authorizing? So there are even though you don't have an internal auditor, there are policies and procedures that the council members can make sure are in place. So things like this cannot happen without their approval.
Right. But it's still going on. That's what bothers me. It's still going on because the $47,000 involves two managers, two administrations. Well, we have the third administration, the current city manager, is involved in this, the way I see it, because we still have $2,900 since the write-off, so it's still going on.
Well, apparently, as of January 2020, that bill was delinquent, and it was past the disconnect timeline. So you're right. As of I don't know what they've done today. It's May now, so I don't know what they've done. But as of January 2020, he did have $2,900 in more delinquent utility bills.
Okay. Well, Auditor Wood, you have been called a racist by Representative Shelley Willingham. Can you respond to that?
I absolutely will. With all due respect, the gentleman has no clue what he's talking about. Anybody that has seen my work over the last 12 years recognizes that I don't lean right, I don't lean left, I'm not racist, that my work is all about the truth and the irrefutable truth. Everything that the city of Rocky Mount said about our work, that the $47,000 was a data dump, that's not true. We sat down at their utility bill system and went through it, and that's where we got the $47,704. They're saying, well, maybe there was manipulation in this council member's account. In all the 234 notes that are in his account, there's not one time that the council member ever said, I think my account's being manipulated. And so to say that I'm a racist is absolutely not true. And anytime you provide me with the evidence that shows that I'm wrong, the finding goes away. So this is all about the truth. So for Representative Willingham to say I'm racist, he's absolutely wrong. And you can take a look at the town of Belhaven, the town of Manteo, the town of Tarboro. I've done these similar investigations in all three of those, and I think that you will see there that the majority of the leadership is white. So to say that I am racist to the citizens of Rocky Mount is an absolute misrepresentation of who and what I am.
With other cities that you, as you said, New Bern, Belhaven, all these other cities that you have investigated or audited, is there any similarities to what we have, the situation we have here?
Absolutely. In one of the towns, you had a city manager who went out and bought a number of items, wetsuits, diving equipment, Yeti coolers, clothing, just a number of a gun, ammunition that he didn't need for his job, put his name in the labels on the coolers of all these items to the tune of several $1,000s. And this is the city manager, but using his position for personal gain. And then we had in another town, there was an allegation that the mayor was writing or not turning off utilities of the citizens if they promised to vote for him. So again, it's all similar abuse of positions in leadership positions in these local governments.
When you audit and
that kind of thing.
When you audit and you have, of course, these findings, is it common for you to be called a racist?
I have never been called a racist, but one other time in my 12 years that I know of.
Wow.
And again, it's a situation where the person was caught red-handed and they couldn't provide the evidence to prove us wrong. And so therefore, that's the only place they had to go.
It's amazing. Totally amazing how that happens.
The best thing to do to get rid of all of this is not to call me a racist, but to bring about the evidence that shows I'm wrong.
Exactly.
In the 1,575 overcharges for steak and lobster dinners and steam pot dinners, just show me where you reimburse the city. And this goes away. But to say publicly, the rules don't apply to me, their policies don't apply to me, that's providing me with evidence that I'm wrong. The $47,704 is tied to one city council member. There's no notes that this was, some kind of overages. I didn't do a data dump and go through and figure this out. We sat down at the utility department's computer, their system, went through their individual records, and this is how we came up with it. And so, no, don't call me a racist.
Right.
Prove me wrong.
Exactly. Prove you wrong.
Every opportunity to prove me wrong, and they couldn't. So the next step is to call me a racist.
That's exactly right. Interesting. So you set up shop in the city of Rocky Mount, so to speak. Do you do that often with your audits? Go in, set up shop?
Again, this is an investigation, and we are on site because, again, we're not going to take a data dump and run back to Raleigh and figure out, what we might or might not have. We will go on site. We will work on site for as long as it takes us to figure out the truth.
Well, don't forget, the next time you come, you need to alert our city manager first, because she was saying that you did not alert her before you came.
And I think that was Representative Willingham's issue, too, that I didn't alert anybody. Surprise number one is the element of surprise is important.
Absolutely.
Records cannot be destroyed. Records cannot be created. It's done in the industry. And if I'm not going to show up and tell everybody what I'm investigating, because everybody can, again, start to destroy records or create records or hide stuff. So no, that's never done.
Sure.
Never done in an investigation. And when I went to Belhaven and Tarboro and Manteo, I didn't alert the elected officials in those towns either. And I'm not going to start now.
Right, absolutely. Well, we'll just go through real quick. We talked about $47,000 and the utility issue. Number 2, multiple downtown development managers failed to follow program guidelines, resulting in $32,452 of uncollected loans. You found that. Number 3, engineering division's noncompliance with city's code, $31,000. City manager failed to comply. We were just talking about that with city's travel policy, resulting in $1,575. How do you not know what your per diem is if you're a city manager?
I have no idea. All of us should be leading by example. And so, when I bring a new hire into my own agency, there are particular policies that we go through with them, and the per diems, and when they travel, because you can imagine we audit the universities, we audit the community colleges.
Yes.
My staff are traveling. They are required to ride together. Or in one vehicle, if we have a state vehicle, they're required to ride together, or then they have to, foot the bill for their own gas if they drive their own vehicle.
Right.
So there are policies that my own staff are made aware of, and I just don't know how you require others to be familiar with policies that you, that you yourself are not.
Okay, let's go back to you have sent information to other agencies. What normally happens next, Auditor Wood?
We turn the information over to other agencies, whether it's a state agency or a legal authority, and now it's up to them to take what I provided them with and decide to pursue an investigation or some other type of audit.
Okay. Now,
I do follow up. Anytime I refer something, and we in the state auditor's office do refer, I can't depend on all universities, all community colleges, anybody else that I refer to do the thorough job that we do. So we always follow up to see what happened, and if nothing happens, we dig in to figure out why.
Well, will your office continue to monitor whether the city takes corrective actions or not that you've recommended?
We will not. We will not monitor that. That's up to the city officials, the leaders, the elected officials, the city manager. It's up to them to decide what needs to be done to restore the trust and faith in the city leadership.
Well, I will put this out there. Back in 2003, and this is probably something you did not know, we started talking about on this show, one of our hosts had kind of an inside friend in the city. He found out about in 2003, the utility bills. At that time, it was $11,000. And we kind of put it out there as not fact, but something that we had heard. And the citizens started getting very, very concerned. So my point, I know that part of this utility thing goes back that far. We could not, by public records request, get utility information. It's very hard to get. So we didn't pursue it, but we would bring it up periodically. So we know that it's been going on that long. Anyway. So just to bring that up. So
our records show since 1999. The bills date back to 1999.
Wow. Okay. I didn't catch that somehow, but anyway, very good. Well, I appreciate you talking to us this morning. In closing, I want to thank you. And I do want to say to you, your website, I want to commend you for your website. Media normally knows how to obtain information off of government websites and things like that. Your website is so user-friendly for citizens. These audits are right there, front and center, and I've told the viewers that, front and center to get right off of your website. And I want to commend you for your website being so user-friendly for the public. So
I appreciate that. And we've worked really hard, not only to make our website user-friendly, but our reports. I have 126 auditors and investigators in my agency. Half of them are CPAs. And when I became state auditor, we were writing to each other, what CPA language. And so we have tried to make the reports so that every citizen in North Carolina can understand what it is we're trying to tell them.
absolutely, and you've done a great job. Thank you so much for being with us this morning, and we hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You take care.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, and we will be right back with you, and I'll bring Wayne back, and we'll talk about this a little bit right after this.